Hello, live streamer type folks. There's nobody there right now, of course, but maybe there will be. I don't know. Sometimes there are. Let's get the preliminaries out of the way, make sure everything's going and set and all that lovely stuff. Basically making sure the announcement goes out to the Mastodon. It takes a little bit sometimes to find the episode. We're going solo today, by the way. Ba, 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 ba. There we go. And then I make sure it shows up over here. Da, da, da. And I retweet it. Okie doke. And then put this back over here. Okay. All the preliminaries are done. Let's get this sucker started. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, July 12th, 2025. As I'm starting to record, it is just after 18 UTC. I am Sam Minter, and we do not have Mr. Yvonne Bowe with us today. He called out sick. He messaged me Friday morning US time saying, hey, I'm sick. I don't think I can record. I've called out of work too. And at the time he mentioned it to me, I was still at home, but just barely. I had to leave and run to work. And so I left and ran to work and blah, 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 and didn't get to send out my email to folks asking for co-hosts until I got home, like many hours later. And no responses this time. Because, I mean, I gave only one time I could possibly record, and I didn't give much notice. And, sometimes nobody's available anyway. So it's just me. I'm going to do a solo. As usual, when I do a solo, I'm going to, you'll listen to one episode, unless you're on the YouTube live stream. But, in reality, I'm going to record each segment separately. And in between the segments, I'm going to go off and do other things for hours. I have stuff to do and things I want to do. So I'm not even going to go 2 hours straight. I mean, I could do 2 hours straight. It is possible. I have done it. I do it with Yvonne all the time. I could do it solo too. But whenever I have the extra freedom of it just being me, I take breaks. I do a little bit, take a break, do a little bit, take a break, Anyway, agenda-wise, this first firsty segment, I'm going to give an update on my car situation. I mean, I did put a little thing at the very end of last week's episode for anybody who stayed past the closing music. But I'll give an update on my car situation and do a couple movies. And that'll be it. And then I'll take a break and we'll come back with more newsy stuff. But honestly, as I sit here looking at it right now, I'm I don't know. There's not that much exciting on the list. I mean, look, as always in every week, things happened. I mean, if Yvonne was here, we'd probably talk about tariffs. There was more crazy, stupid tariff stuff. There's stuff about the Epstein investigation, not the investigation itself, because there's really been nothing new there in years, but about the Trump administration people self-imploding over the fact that they built up a conspiracy theory and then had to come out and say, oh, really, there's nothing there. Other stuff like Elon's starting a new political party, or said he was anyway. I don't know. Well, we'll talk about something. But first, yeah, but first, that's why I call it the but first segment, is because sometimes I call it but first. Actually, I stole that. There was a podcast called Tank Riot that I used to listen to. They haven't put out a new episode in a decade plus. I think it's defunct. I think one of the co-hosts died, I think, or one of their close family members died or something, and they just stopped. Um, but I liked it because what they did was they would have this but first segment where they talked about bullshit. you know, they talked about like whatever, and it was just random and all over the place. Sometimes personal stuff, sometimes media, sometimes whatever. And then after doing that for a while, they would go on to their official topic of the show. Generally speaking, it wasn't like a news and politics show like we do here. It was sort of they would pick a topic to deep dive into, and then they would spend time talking about the topic. And anyway, it was I liked that podcast. I had fun with it, and they did the but first. And anyway, that's where that comes from. I think their archival episodes are all still up online. You can go check them out. Tank Riot. It was fun, and sometimes they did talk about politics and stuff too. It just wasn't like it wasn't the always consistent theme like we sort of do, although we get away from it sometimes. Anyway, blah 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 blah. I'll start with the car stuff. For those of you who listened past the end of the episode last week, I did go out and get a 2025 Ionic 5 SEL model. Actually, I don't know if I said that in the after podcast, but it was the SEL trim level. I'll talk about that a little bit in a second. Basically, I'd been looking at them for a while. I sort of had it in my mind that that's the one I kind of wanted if we could swing it. And it was probably a little bit more money than we would actually want to spend. As I told Yvonne, the amount of money I wanted to spend is zero. you know, like, yeah, like I didn't want to buy a new car right now. I'd hoped that this one would last a couple more years. I knew it was in bad shape in various ways, but I'd hoped it would last a couple more years. And yes, Yvonne was like, "Oh, let's get the Prius, just get the Prius." But I kind of wanted to do the all electric thing. The subsidies are being canceled in a couple months, so like if I'm gonna do it, like now seems like a good time to do it. I'd been looking at this one for a while. As they passed me on the street, I'd been like, hey, that looks cool. I think I like it. I was like, I need to see the interior. Like I'd only seen them like passing by. And I had tried to peek in the windows of some parked ones, but I was always like a little self-conscious about that and only took a quick glance. I didn't like actually stop and stare, and so I hadn't really gotten a good view of the interior. Um, my wife had at least one friend, I think two, who actually had them already, and so she had actually ridden in them and said, "Yeah, it's a nice car." I don't know. Her worry was it was like slightly bigger than my current car, and it was like I've said over and over again, like uh, the size of car I had in the 2012 Subaru Impreza was just about what I wanted. Like I could see I didn't really want to go any smaller, but I also didn't really want to go much larger. I would consider a little bit larger, but not a lot larger. Like when occasionally when my car's been in the shop and I've gotten loaners from Subaru, they've put me in like Foresters or Outbacks or things like that, and I immediately felt like they were too big. I did not like them. I mean, they were fine, and after I drove them for a little while, I got used to them, but size wise, I didn't like them. So she was worried that, look, you may not think so, but the Ionic's actually bigger than your current car. And I looked up the dimensions. It's a little bit bigger. It's like, a couple inches wider and like 4 or 5 inches longer. I forget the exact numbers, but it was a little bit bigger. Um, but so that was a concern. And also, yeah, like, if you did a straight up purchase, the monthly payments were pretty large, like larger, like, and I guess in the grand scheme of things, I mean, lots of car payments are like that level. Yeah, it was like a $700 and change car payment if I did a straight up purchase of the model I wanted. And like, you know, it's I've it's been years since I've had any car payment. I'm like, I don't want any car payment. And when I did, like the last one was a lot less than that. It seems like, I mean, it was, 12 plus years. Well, I guess I was still paying it for a while after that, but like, it's been a long time. So things were cheaper. And so like, yeah, I get sticker shock. Um, Anyway, so those were all concerns. So I was like, "Oh, okay, fine, Yvonne, I'll look at the other ones too," and like blah blah blah. I didn't look at the other ones at all. So my wife had a friend of hers. Uh, you know, okay, fine. She has friends who own the dealership, the Hyundai dealership. So she texts her friend, is like, "Hey, we're looking for a new car. It was unexpected. Yeah, unexpected. Like, it was an old car. We knew it would happen sometime, but we didn't know it was gonna happen at that moment. Um, and we wanted to, what do you have? And she's like, I talked to my folks. We have something in mind for you. Come on in. We'll take care of you. So, uh, I will say, and and look, it's been however long. I mean, my car, Brandy's car, it's been forever since last time we bought cars. Um, the last couple of times we've had one connection or another that, you know I mean, it helps. Like, I am the kind of person who, like, I don't want to go in and haggle. I don't want to go in and do whatever. Like, I want to look at the sticker, say this is what I want, buy it, and out. you know I've talked to Yvonne about this before. Like, my car before the Subaru was a Saturn, and that was their whole deal, was like, you know no haggle, it's just the sticker price, go. I love my Saturn, by the way. Yes, I liked that car. I like the Subaru too. Even though I wish it had lasted a little bit longer, I liked both those cars. Uh, oh, I tried to figure out my entire car history, and I can't remember all the years. And I have this sneaking suspicion that maybe I forgot one, but I don't think so. So I think it was, the first one was a 1976 Dodge Colt that had originally belonged to my grandmother. I called it puke green. Is sort of a shiny metallic green. Um, I still have its dashboard in my garage to this day, because when it finally died, I removed the dashboard and I kept it. Um, anyway, 1976 Dodge Colt that was my grandmother's. Then it was my mother's. Then she let me drive it. Um, I guess I technically never owned it. It was always my mother's, but I got to drive it. Um, then there was a Ford Taurus station wagon. It was blue. Um, and that was also my mom's, but I got to drive it. Um, and then after the Ford Taurus died, I got a Toyota Corolla. And I had that's the one I remember the least about, because it didn't last that long. Um, it got totaled in an accident. I got rear-ended. Like, I got in a multi-car pileup where I was driving along the highway, and I had to stop because there were people stopped in front of me. I successfully stopped. I was not moving, and then multiple cars hit me from behind. Um, and that one I had bought used, and wasn't worth that much to start with, probably. And yeah, it was totaled by that accident. Luckily, everybody walked away. It was like, multi-car pileup, but nobody severely injured. I think I ended up going to like a chiropractor for a little bit, which, like, it was sports medicine slash chiropractor because like, yeah, I guess my back was hurt a little bit, but I don't know. Well, I don't even remember. It was a long time ago. But then after that, I got the green Saturn SL2, I think it was, and then the Subaru Impreza, and now a Hyundai Ioniq 5. That's my entire history of cars, my entire life. Um, unless I forgot one. I feel like maybe there was one in between the Taurus and the Corolla, but then I think back of it and I think there wasn't that much time in that interval. There can't have been. That has to have been it. And like I'm hallucinating that there might have been another because I also can't remember anything about another car. So I think that's probably just it. I just like keep thinking, did I miss one? Is there no? But I think that's the entire history. Um, anyway, it helps to have someone like because apparently yeah, it's a family business. The person who's a friend of my wife's wasn't there. She was traveling, but her daughter was there, and so her daughter came in. Uh, her daughter did sort of the beginning and end of the process, and in between, they assigned us to some regular like salesperson to like do um, the test drive and all the intermediary stuff. But it was very smooth. Like there was no hassle. We didn't do any negotiation. They gave us a price. I mean, I did send pictures and everything to Yvonne, and Yvonne's like, that's a good deal. Go for it. You know, like Yvonne, if Yvonne had told us they're screwing you, you have to like negotiate or do, then we would have tried. But like, no, the first thing they sent, you know, is like, okay, they're taking care of you. um, anyway, I we did the test drive, and you know the worries about it being bigger or whatever. It felt the same to me. Like, I mean, I know intellectually it was slightly bigger. I can feel a few things where like it's slightly taller off the ground, slightly, but not a lot. And like the other dimensions may be a little bit bigger, but not a lot. It wasn't enough that, like when I mentioned, I felt sort of uncomfortable in the Forester or the Outback or whatever. I got into them and I immediately felt like, oh my God, this thing's huge. And um, I didn't feel that with this. Like it immediately felt like a normal, I'm just normally driving the car, whatever. And and I liked it. And the one thing that bugged me, I'll tell you the one thing that bugged me, I bought it anyway. But this is one of those things where I'm like, why would people do this? Can't this seems like an obvious flaw. Is that from the driver's position, at least at my height and I guess my posture and where I like to set the seats, although I tried to adjust it to avoid this and couldn't. The bottom left corner of the main of the infotainment display screen, not the one with the dials directly in front of you, but the infotainment display screen, the bottom left hand corner is obscured by the steering wheel. And I'm like, all you have to do is move it an inch to the right and you wouldn't have this issue. But no. And so my wife's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I can see it all. I'm like, and I'm looking at the geometry and trying to do physics in my head. And I'm like, there's no way you can see it all. You just don't care or don't notice, or, you know, you just automatically sort of move your head a little bit to the right because you can see the bottom left of the screen if you move your head a little bit over to the side, you know, or maybe she just sits tilted to the side. I don't know. And of course and so I'm like, I want to see that corner of the screen. They could have just moved it an inch and it would have been fine. You know, I'm like, I'm not going to let that stop me from getting the car, but it did sort of annoy me, you know, but nothing else annoyed me. Everything else was like nice. I enjoyed it. I tested the stuff. Um, I had asked to test the SEL trim from the beginning because I'd read somewhere, I think it was Car and Driver or somewhere, that that was sort of the sweet spot between cost and value of the packages you can get on it. I think there's 2 packages below and 2 packages above, if I remember right. I'm not going to look it up. Um, but here's the thing, and I talked a little bit about this on the Curmudgeon's Corner Slack with our listener Bob, who also has an Ioniq 5. He got it a few months ago. Uh, and he apparently has the next trim level up from me, like the limited or whatever. I don't know. I did not, I could have looked and said, okay, I remember that the review said SEL was the sweet spot, but what's in the next level up? I did not do that. I intentionally avoided that. I did look at one level down, and it and I asked him, okay, one level down, what's it missing? What doesn't it have? And the big thing for me was actually the wireless charging pad in the middle. And I know they're slower than plugging it in, but it's so convenient. You just put the thing down and you're done. Um, and the speed of it is annoying compared to a wired one. I will give you that, but it's so convenient. And also, like, apparently a power adjustable passenger seat as and back seat for that matter, as well as the driver's seat. And like those things are cool. I would want that. I would miss not having the wireless charging pad. And I would be annoyed knowing that the driver's seat has, it is powered, but the others aren't. I would just be, if I ever have to ride as a passenger, that would annoy me. But here, this is exactly though why I didn't look at the next level up, because I knew 100% that if I looked up what was in the next level up, I would convince myself that I had to have them. I still, to this moment, have not looked up what's in the next level up, because I know if I did, I'd be like, oh man, I could have got that. It was only like this many dollars more, and we could have folded that in, and the monthly payment would have only been like $20 a month more or something, and I could have done that. And oh my goodness, and now I'm missing out on Doodad X. I 100% know that if I'd looked at the higher trim levels, I would have talked myself all the way up to the maximum trim level. And because I know myself, I know I would have done that. I know I would have been like, and you know, I know, I just know. It doesn't even matter what those things were. I would have convinced myself I needed them. As it is, I got what I got and I'm happy. I'm like, this is an amazing upgrade from a 2012 Subaru Impreza. Like, and look, a lot of the things I'm amazed in, I guess, just to finish that up, I guess, at some point, maybe I'll look up what was in the higher trim levels, but I'm going to wait. Like, I know I could do it instantly. I could bring up another window right now and check, but I don't want to, because right now I'm happy. And I know if I looked up those trim levels, I'd be like sad that I didn't get them, because I know, like, our finances are such that I wanted to spend as little money as possible. I mean, and obviously not as, I could have gotten something much, much cheaper than what we got. Yeah, I could have gotten a really basic um traditional gas car with no bells and whistles, and I could have gotten something for half the price of what I got. There are still cars out there for 25K or so. Not very many, but you can get cars, you can get basic cars with absolutely nothing. Hell, I could have gotten a used car. I could have gotten a newer used car. I could have spent a lot less than I did. But I wanted this, but I could have spent more. Like, they're and I know I could have convinced myself up a up a trim level or two. And that I mean, the big decision was you're getting this car. Once you're within that range, I know what I mean. It was a better choice to be more frugal. The stupid review said this was the sweet spot, so I let myself fixate on that and get this one, and it's probably the right thing to do. But I know the moment I look at those other trim levels, I would be like, "Oh man, I should have done that. I could have done that. Oh, I'm missing the blah blah blue." And yeah, anyway. So, I've been driving it around for just under a week now. I ended up getting it driving away from the lot Saturday night or before sunset, so it's still light out. Um, so and it's Saturday midday as I'm recording this, so not quite a full week, but close. I am enjoying it. I like the car. I'm having fun with it. I've charged it up twice now. Once I didn't really need it yet, but I was like, I was at like 50% or something. I'm like, I want to figure out how to do it. Both times I've charged it a supercharger. Um, I have not tried the trickle charge at home because I know Yvonne and others were saying if I trickle charge at home overnight, that's probably enough for my daily commute. And so I only need to do something else if I'm really going somewhere. Um, Honestly, my daughter's car has been parked in my parking spot in the garage, or not in the garage, in the driveway. Uh, my daughter's car has been parked there, and uh, so I've been parking on the street. So uh, further away than I could stretch an extension cord because I'm parking on the street down the block. Um, uh, she's due to like take that car and drive east to Pennsylvania to live with her grandmother for like at least a year soon. She's been preparing to leave for over a month now as she like makes sure she feels like everything is settled, and then she was going to drive cross country. Um, which by the way, she's got an even older car. She's got like a 2002 Pontiac Aztec. So who knows if it'll even make it cross country, but uh, fingers crossed. Um, anyway, uh, yeah. Um, the charging was fine. The first time I had to charge it took some figuring out. Had to like, okay, how do you do this exactly? What do you push and where do you plug and what do you do? The 2025 Ionics use the new standard port. That's the old Tesla port that now everybody's standardizing on. Um, and so like using the Tesla supercharger, I didn't have to use any adapters or anything. It came with a bag full of adapters for other types. I haven't tried any other types yet. I've got chargers at work, but the thing I've noticed is when I come in the morning, all the chargers are always full. By afternoon, they've emptied out. But if I want to do that, I have to remember. I'd either have to get there earlier or remember somewhere midday to go move my car to the work chargers. And I don't think they're the fast chargers like superchargers. They're a lot slower. But I will at some point experiment with them as well. But charging was fine. Uh, when I was at 50%, it took like 15 minutes. The second time I charged, I'd let it get down to like 25 or something, and it was like half an hour. And that's charging to 80% because apparently the advice, I don't know, like anybody else with an electric out there, feel free to give me advice on this. I saw in a number of places saying, generally speaking, try to keep it between 20 and 80%. And only charge to 100 if you're actually like you're gonna need it. You're like on a large road trip and you feel like you're gonna need it. Just better for the long-term health of the battery, whatever. Um, so I have it set to charge to 80% at the moment. Uh, and yeah, it's different than like the quick, fill up at the gas station and go, but it's not bad. And I do plan. We will get one. An L2, I guess, whatever they call it, the next level up charger. We will get one installed at home. That is part of the plan. It came with a coupon for free hardware for that. You still have to pay installation, but it comes with so it came with you know here's I guess $600 value or whatever, $500 $600 value for the actual hardware for the charger, and then you got to get somebody to install it. And so I'll go through that process. I started that process. Like I clicked the button to claim the coupon code or whatever, and as soon as the coupon code arrives, they said it'll take a few days, and then I'll get it an email, and then I can whatever. I'll do that, but uh, and then I'll just like plug it in and charge in my driveway, and that'll be a lot more convenient. But even the superchargers aren't not convenient. Um, and anyway, so the main things I'm struck by in the actual car, and I don't know this is not a car review podcast, and I'm not a car person, but um, mainly the main things are just the kind of things you'd see in almost any transition from a 2012 to a 2025, and not a top end 2012 either. Like, so like there are a lot of features that were already in like luxury car models that weren't in a 2012 Subaru Impreza that are just standard features now that I have experienced in loaner cars but have not had in my daily driver. And so most of it is like these aren't even new things. These have been around for many, many years, but it's the first time I've had them in my primary car. And so things like the backup camera, you know, things like having a whole bunch of charge ports built in instead of a couple cigarette lighter adapters that you have to like, put your put your little charger doohickey in and then plug into. Having a built-in screen for like Apple CarPlay instead of having an aftermarket one that I added a couple years ago, and before that Bluetooth only. Um, you know, but all this kind of stuff. And and the biggest one though that actually will make that has made an impact in my daily quality of life is modern cruise control. And by modern, well, what do I mean? Well, first of all, even my regular cruise control hadn't worked in my old Subaru in years. It's one of the things that stopped working. I'm pretty sure when the second or third time the rat ate through the like wiring harnesses, and we decided just not to repair it this time. But so I hadn't had any cruise control at all. But 2012 Subaru Impreza was old-fashioned cruise control. You set it at a speed and it goes that speed. End of story. Modern cruise control detects the traffic in front of you and adjusts your speed appropriately. You set a maximum speed, but it slows down if you need to. And it detects the lanes and helps you stay in the lanes. For my 25-mile approximately, it's slightly less than 25-mile, 25-mile approximately commute each direction into work, now that I have to go 5 days a week into the office in Seattle from where I live, where a significant, like sometimes the entire length of that drive is heavy traffic. But even the sort of normal is at least half of it is. And oh my goodness, letting the car deal with most of that. I put myself in the correct lane like for where I need to be, like right when I get on the highway, and set the cruise control for, okay, a couple miles above the speed limit. Speed limit 60. I put it at 65. I will admit, because if you actually set it to 60, people will just get really annoyed at you. Some people do want to go 70, but 65 seems like a reasonable compromise. And most of the time, not going anywhere close to that anyway. There are only a few open stretches where you actually get up to that. Um, but having it deal with speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down, stop, wait 15 seconds, start again, and drive around the curves and stuff. I mean, this is not even, full self-driving where people are tempted to like read a book or whatever. um, or play video games or whatever those Tesla people do who end up getting in severe car crashes. I mean, I can't not pay attention. This thing is not that smart. Uh, it, but it's pretty good, and you know, just the amount of mental energy required for the drive is less. Even if you are still paying attention and making sure it's not doing anything stupid and blah blah blah. Um, the amount of mental energy needed is less. Even in just the 1 week driving to work, I can tell I arrive at the office less tired, because one of my complaints, generally speaking, about, since I've been commuting every day again, is just that no matter how much sleep I've had the night before, I arrive at the office already tired and feeling like I need a break before I can start for real, because I've just been in the car. Um, if a really good traffic day will be less than an hour, but um, like Fridays are usually a little bit better than the rest of the week. If you're around a holiday, it's better. But I'd say my typical time is approximately an hour. And if it's a bad day, if there's bad weather or there's been accidents or whatever, it can hit an hour and a half. One day this week, and I was so glad I had the car helping with this, but it did take me over an hour and a half to get into work. Um, but here's the deal. It's 25 miles to work. The last mile, the exit ramp off the highway, and the like 4 blocks from there to my actual building took more than half an hour, all by itself. It was actually, a decent drive, and then boom, you hit the line waiting to get to the exit, to get off at the exit, and then it was crawling forever. I remember, like, I messaged the person I was supposed to be meeting and had to like move reschedule, apologize for being late, whatever, because like it wasn't happening. I'd left enough buffer that I was intending to be at the office half an hour before this meeting. I ended up 15 minutes late to it. Anyway, if the finance person, when we were signing all the papers, asked what's the favorite thing about the new car, and I was like, I haven't really driven it yet. I hadn't driven the actual car yet, because like the one test drove was a different color. It was otherwise identical, so I didn't say, okay, I need to test drive this actual vehicle. I'm like, it's the same other than the color, right? And they're like, yeah, it's the same other than the color. Um, so I hadn't actually driven the vehicle at all yet. So I don't know. I'm like, what's my favorite thing? I don't know. So I said the modern things that would be in here that weren't in a 2012. But I will say, after driving a week, It's the goddamn modern cruise control. And I know this is not new. I know cars have had this for like a long time. It's just this is the first one I've had that has this, and it makes a big difference to my quality of life with my commute. Um, so anyway, I'm happy with the car. I'm happy to have switched to a full electric. So far, now I haven't tried doing any road trips. There are no road trips on the agenda. Um, I haven't done that kind of I haven't done a serious road trip in a long, 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 long time. The last time was probably like a decade ago, where I had a conference I was going to at work in San Francisco, and for some damn reason, I decided, hey, it'll be fun to drive instead of taking a plane. So I drove back and forth to the conference in San Francisco, which Seattle to San Francisco is a decent hike. Um, and so I did that. Let's see, how long is that? Let's just check Google Maps real quick. Or maps.google.com. Let's do this. So let's see. From my home to, let's just say, San Francisco without specifying a specific place. If I can spell Cisco correctly. Okay, it says, oh, I had looked something up earlier as a pedestrian. 313 hours as a pedestrian if you were going to walk from my house to San Francisco. Now let's put this in a car. 13 hours. 13 hours and change. Okay, 12 hours 34 minutes, 831 miles for the preferred route, the fastest route. Yeah, and I stupidly as well decided I would do that in one day. You can do 12 hours in one day, but it's nicer to split that up. Anyway, I did it in one day in both directions. I'm just dumb. I mean, I call it one day, but I actually ended up taking naps at rest stops and stuff like that for multiple hours. Anyway, that's probably the long time I've done a real road trip, and we have none planned. I am thinking, since I have a new car, I'm like, maybe not road trips like that. Oh, because we also, Yvonne convinced us it was okay to get a lease because there were all kinds of additional deals. The rebates and stuff due to that's ending and blah blah blah. You could get into with a lease in ways you couldn't get through a purchase. Although I believe there was a weird thing around that we actually got a Subaru rebate instead because the particular model we got wasn't eligible for the other, but they matched the price anyway. Blah blah blah. Whatever. We had plenty of rebate. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I used to do these random trips that were like, pick a random spot that's less than a certain amount of airfare, go there. The next one for a long time, for like 20 plus years, has been to Quintana Roo, Mexico. We still haven't gone. Maybe eventually I'll go. Yvonne said he'd go with me. I want to do that someday. But in the meantime, I was thinking short range random trips, like within 20 miles. Like pick a random spot within 20 miles. I recently fixed up my random spot generator on abelsmay.com so it works again. And it had been broken for years because it used an old Google Maps API that had been deprecated, and I updated it, and it's now got a cool like spinning globe map that, like, when you pick a random spot, and the actual random spot picking never broke, but the part that showed you where it was on a map had broken. Anyway, I'm thinking, I could do that. Just random spot within 20-25 miles, drive there, see what's there, explore a little bit. That would be like a fun thing to do on weekends. Not that I have a lot of extra time on weekends. And, I could like do a quick, like, mount my phone and do a time lapse of the trip or something, and make TikTok content out of it or something. I don't know. Of course, that makes it even more work. I don't know. Want to do something, but even that's a short drive. Like, no road trips. Fine. Anyway, like the range anxiety, I don't think will be a real problem because my actual driving doesn't require. The main thing is I probably will have to charge more often than I filled up with gas. But again, the plan is to get one of those chargers for home, and then that won't really be an issue. Just plug it in at home when you park at night. Like, not even every night, but every few nights you do that. I don't know. Okay. Enough about cars. And I think enough for this segment. I do want to talk about one movie and one book, but let's wait for the next segment to do that. I will take my break. I will do other things that I want to get done, and we'll come back and talk about that. And then I don't know what I'll do for the third segment. I don't know if I'll do a third segment. We'll see how it goes. Like, none of those topics really excite me. Maybe while I take my break, there'll be some really exciting breaking news, and then there'll be something to talk about. I don't know. Anyway, so this is it for part one. I hope you enjoyed part one. It was another story time. It was the continuing of the story from the other day. The break I'd had picked is a new break. I'll save that for one where Yvonne is here. And the next break was an Apple Dream, which he hasn't heard. So I'll save that for Yvonne too. So I'll just do this other break. We'll do those others, and the new one's really short. It's like the shortest break we have in rotation, but whatever. Is something Alex had me record like a long, long time ago, and I just recently told him, hey, if you send me that, I'll make it a break. So anyway, but that's not what you're going to hear now. This is one of the other breaks. So here goes. We'll be back to talk about movies and books after this, and after I take many hours. For you, it'll be short. Here you go. What? No, that was bad. Oh, no, that was bad too. No, I don't like that either. Once upon a rainbow, you were on the floor, eating the bugs that you found upon my face. No, that's what? Bye. Okay, hitting stop.